Hi, my name is Sam Led, and welcome to The Fearless Now. This is for you in the nosebleed seats, if you're looking for an easier way to approach anxiety, stress, and unhealthy habits from the inside out. There's no techniques and no strategies, so sit back, relax, and let me be your peace of mind Uber driver, here on The Fearless Now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Fearless Now podcast. My name is Sam Led. I'm a transformational coach. And today we have a very, very special guest, a gentleman that I'm very fond of, that I respect. And he can do anything. Actually, he does everything. In fact, he's also, behind the scenes doing all the tactical stuff in theater, which is interesting because we're going to talk about the theater of mind, thought, and consciousness and mental health. So he makes a living creating drama, which is wonderful, but he's also a mental health advocate. And he has also two alsos, a wonderful podcast called the Bystanders Podcast. And it's on my top 5 playlist on Spotify. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the great Chase Marks here from the Bystanders Podcast.
Hello, Sam. What an introduction. Sam. What an introduction. Thank you so much. Very happy to be here. It's always nice to talk on other people's podcasts because I can relax a little bit and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm very anxious right now. You can tell. I'm just.
Oh, me too. I still have those flutters of anxiety, but that's life, right? Isn't it? It's excitement. It's when you know that something's important. So
yeah, and exactly. And from that anxiety comes, the birthing of some really cool stuff. That in our last one, when I was on your podcast, I just, I just forgot what came out of my mouth because for some reason it sounded good, and what came out of your mouth sounded good, and it just was just a lovely hour and a half together. So, Chase, if you don't mind, I want to start. And again, this is your episode, so I'm asking you for permission. If I can begin the episode with a little bit of Sid Banks. And ladies and gentlemen, and those of you that don't know Sid Banks, he was this gentleman with a 9th grade education, very simple bloke, who had this enlightenment experience about 50 years ago. And he wanted to share it with the world. Very humble guy. Didn't want any pomp and circumstance. It's not a cult. He didn't even want to be on video until I think 15, 20 years ago. He subsequently passed away in 2009, I believe. But the wisdom and the teachings of the 3 principles that he's shared with the world have transformed the lives of not only myself, my partners, and countless others, but also every walk of life. He worked with folks in the prison system to psychiatric hospitals and shared these teachings with professionals, mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, coaches like myself. And a lot of these folks kind of just gave up their licensing and just shared this. And the transformation that I have seen with my clients has been next level. And so here, I'm going to play it if it works. So yeah, it should work. Here's Sid Banks. We're going to start it out. And it's from one of his lectures. It's the Hawaii lecture. It's part 2 of it. And you can also listen to this on YouTube. But I figured there would be a good jumping off point to kind of get the party started here.
Literally everybody, no matter who you are.
Nope. False alarm. Okay.
So how long does it take to find mental health? 1 second. If you can find the original thought. What I found in a couple of seconds. And that's why I know that everybody on this earth, literally everybody, no matter who you are, what you are, the condition, mental health is only 1 thought away. Now, this is a new concept for the world. But it really isn't. Because from the beginning of time, the sages and the wise have told you the same thing. And it's always been like this. And it will always be like this as long as there's a human being walking the face of the earth. Because it's through mind, consciousness, and thought that you see reality. This reality is born through your thoughts. If you didn't have a thought, this reality wouldn't exist. If you didn't have a consciousness, this reality wouldn't exist. If you didn't have a mind, this reality wouldn't exist. Because mind, consciousness, and thought are the three principles that create whatever you see in this existence. It creates reality. And when you pass from this world to the next world, we call it death. You'll all have this proven to you. Because I can guarantee you this. When anybody passes from this world to the next world, they will find the secret to life. Guaranteed. I know when I had this experience, I know I went through the process of death. You know how it says in some writings, you've got to die to live? It's true. You ever hear of people having a near-death experience? They always say it's spiritual, and they're never the same again. Well, I was blessed. I know I was. And I went totally through the experience of death. And this is why I can tell you, there is nothing to worry about in death. Because you go home. You go home to where you belong. You go home to what you call God. And God is the energy of all things, whether in form or formless. This is where the great oneness takes place. Because the form and the formless are one. Because they're all the same energy in a different disguise. Or another way to say it, they're all the same energy, only in a different form. They're the same state of consciousness in a different form. Because that's what life is. It's a ball of consciousness. Nothing else but pure consciousness. It's God consciousness. And if you ever find out the true meaning of what I'm saying right now, you'll find out the true meaning of mind. Mind is everything in this world, again, whether in form or formless. I'm going to keep talking about form and formless. This is a great oneness. This is why there can only be one God. Because both are the same thing in a different disguise. A very important thing about thought. Here's the simple part. We all have thoughts come into your head. And thoughts come into your head so fast, you can't stop them. I don't care who it is. You could just have a thought, split second. You could have a dozen thoughts in a split second. But the beauty is, when you find out, you don't have to react to a thought. A thought on its own is totally neutral. And if you don't put any power into that thought, it will do you no harm or anybody else any harm. It's only when you decide to put thought into it. Like a prisoner said to me in jail, said, I used to have thoughts come into my head. And he says, I figured I had to go with that thought because it was my thought. And he never realized You could ignore it. Now, I bet you every one of you here have had negative thoughts 1,000 times that you've never acted on. It doesn't do any harm. It's only when you put life into that thought. Now, you have a positive thought and you put life into it, that's what happens. Positivity happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think you get the gist of it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. And when I first listened to that, using my, my cerebral cortex, not dropping into the present moment and just being present with it, I didn't understand what the guy was talking about. I mean, the first 5 times, but then I saw, I was creating judgment around it, but I wanted to kind of unwrap that, as a jumping off point, because I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, but also from someone like you that's, interviewed lots of folks that has a passion for this, for this field and for helping others kind of take their life back after getting lost in what Sid Banks called, all those thoughts popping in our head. So what did you hear in that?
It's so in tune with what my thoughts have been this last couple of weeks. The book that I mentioned before, Somebody Should Have Told Us, by Jack Pransky. Is that right?
Jack Pransky, yeah.
Jack Pransky. There's so much of that in there. And for me, my thought process has been one of to almost to ignore my thoughts. I have a lot of them in the space of a few minutes, a few hours, and in one day. And what I've been doing for the last few weeks is to really analyze, are these thoughts serving me anymore? Are they putting me in a better or a worse mood? And if it's putting me in a worse mood, do I at all want to act on those thoughts? Or should I wait? Should I let go of them and wait until I'm in a better state of mind before I can act on what these negative thoughts are giving me? So much that's in there, that was in that wonderful speech. And that's it. Just in the space of 2 weeks, going back to work, getting my feel again, but having a very, giving myself a clean slate, because I'm more in control of these thoughts and how I choose to use them than I ever realized. And I'm a 38-year-old man. I've been doing this. I've been talking. I've been counseling. I've been trying to get well for a long time. But it's only I've only come to realize so recently, very recently, that I am actually more in control of my thoughts than I realized. And that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to arrive at, and to have met Sam Led.
And that just what you said put a smile on my face, and it's special because, once we see that we were never not well to begin with, that, and I love what you said there, seeing our thoughts for what they are, they're nothing. We create meaning around something that doesn't exist. And it's hard a lot of the time, don't you think? Because we're feeling our thinking. And because we're feeling it, like today, I got to share with you. I dropped my girlfriend, longtime girlfriend off. We're helping her mom move into a retirement, kind of a senior living facility. And all of a sudden, I'm driving back. I was going to go to the beach and maybe just do some surfing and just swimming because it was so hot here. I had a mini panic attack for no reason. Just all of a sudden, my brain was trying to blame something for why I had that mini, little mini panic, because the full-fledged panic attack is,
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of get an idea of, a mini panic attack is just a taste of the main event, but it could have been that way. And I see my brain blaming the heat, blaming because I was thirsty, blaming the traffic, and I caught it. I pulled over to the side of the road, and when I looked to my thinking to get at, because I pulled in a parking lot and it was a one-way turning right onto a very busy one-way street, 3-lane, basically highway, 55 miles an hour. When I was looking to my thinking to navigate through it, to navigate through that physiological experience of panic and mini heart attack, what it felt like, I was useless. I put the car in park and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Brain, what are you doing? It's Saturday. So, but then I stopped. I stopped going inside my head, and it settled within 10 minutes. And then I got back on the road. What do you like? What Sid said, yeah, it's simplistic, right? But our brain makes it into a whole drama. Mm-hmm. When I first kind of was introduced to these principles and what you're reading in Jack Prancey's book, I wish they told us early, when we were in grade school or when we were born, when we were little kids, it's like we forget all the time. Like I forgot for a second when I had that mini panic attack, like that it's just thought and I'm having a physiological reaction to it, because it's so loud. Mm-hmm. And then I heard something else. I'm like, you know what? I can't beat the system, so I might as well just go with it. I mean, you can't beat the system, because I think I don't know. But in terms of your own life, because you guys have been through the ringer with this pandemic, is many respects like we have, but I think a lot worse in some respects because of you're an island. Going back to work, what are you seeing more of in terms of your day-to-day duties, working with your coworkers and, your responsibilities? Has anything changed? Like, cause, you made the most of this lockdown. I mean, you were healthy, proactive, in a way that I wish more people were. But now that's shifted to now you're busy, back to your busy job and your life. What do you see more of now? And how has that been helpful for you kind of getting back into the swing of things?
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying I've made use of my time. Yeah. No, because I appreciate that because it's been busy.
I met you. I mean, you made good use because we connected, and that's
That's right. It's one of the most courageous and
blessings.
Biggest blessings I've ever done with my life is to reach out to people who saw something similar in me, and it's been a wonderful experience. Podcast wise, going back to work has been an interesting transition because there has been a major focus in mental health and helping people return back to work, particularly in theatre, in my sector. And on the first day, we had a mental health day, and I hadn't seen that many people in a long time.
What is a mental health day? I didn't mean to interrupt you because...
No, not at all. So we had a group come in.
UK, at least.
Yeah, so there's a new group called Applause for Thought that started in 2019 before the pandemic. And they train people as mental health first aiders, which is a very fast growing service in the UK, probably the world. And we have like mental health coaches that come in regularly just to check in, and then we can always do Zooms with them privately as well. And the company pick up the fee. Basically.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah,
yeah, it was great. It's great, and we just had this day where we chatted, we wrote on like post-it notes, and we put little ideas on bits of paper and stuff, and we're all mixed up with people we wouldn't normally speak to. And obviously won't go into too much depth because private things were talked about.
Of course,
but
yes.
What happened is that we're on a very level playing field. You know, within theatre, within any job, there's always like hierarchy, people who earn more, people who earn less, that sort of thing. And there's always division, you know, from department to department.
Sure.
On this particular day, and coming back from something like the pandemic and not being able to work for over a year and a half in our field, something changed. It was a very significant day for mental health in entertainment where we all saw each other. It's like we saw each other equally for the first time. And that may go away. You know, we'll all go back to our lives and have
go back to the noise.
Yeah, exactly. We'll all go back to the brass band, be playing, and we'll maybe lose part of the wisdom.
Remember when we were friends? Now we're not friends again. Why is that? Because, you know, I blame it on the noise. Because I make more money than you. There's the noise there too.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful. I'll be able to hold on to that.
Yes.
To that feeling. But yeah, so there's been that. But one point I will make is that I found it a little bit difficult at first. It was a good day and I registered it like that, even though there was a slight bit of anxiousness about returning to work. For me, mental health, I'd never really spoken about it. I'd never really brought mental health advocacy into the workplace before. I just wasn't ready to, because I was topping up myself. I was taking care of myself. But when this happened, it crossed over and it made me feel very vulnerable. And even people around me were like, yeah, but this is what you do. Like, you talk to people and like mental health's your thing. I was just like, I know, but it's my work life, my theatre life, and this other life I've been building, this pursuit for something authentic, for something genuine, that where I don't have to wear a mask like I do at work. They crossed over today, and that doesn't mean that it's a great thing, but it doesn't mean I'm automatically just okay with it, you know. So yeah, it's exciting, but I'm checking with myself a lot, because this is a big change.
It's interesting because, and again, you know, because I work for myself. I don't work in a corporate setting in America, but I'm willing to, you know, I'm sure America has their own, you know, corporate America has their own kind of mental health day. Of course, in the university setting, if you're, you know, I'm sure they have resources, but that's beautiful, man. You know, the interesting thing is, you know, this pandemic really, in many ways, despite how horrific it has been, it's ongoing here. It's, you know, we have a new variant, a new cocktail, wreaking havoc. It's, you know, I just gotta laugh at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like a Stephen King novel. It's like The Stand. But with that being said, you know, that we've talked about this when I was on your podcast, it actually, the good thing about it is it did bring commonality between strangers, where we were able to be more authentic because we were going through the same thing together. But I would think, you know, especially, you know, we do wear a mask in some respects when we're in our professional life. Like we want to portray our best self. But do you think since the pandemic, where people were more vulnerable, that the mask kind of, they saw melted into, like, they actually saw not Chase as brilliant automation guy, you know, with the cool Oliver Peoples glasses. They saw, you know, Chase, you know, the kind, funny, resilient human being who cares about people, and, you know, there's a lot of dimensions to him, you know. So I would think that, and I hope it doesn't, that people will remember that forever. Now, remember, we do forget, like we forget and then we remember again, because we have this thing called thought and thinking, you know, you know, our inner psychology, the experience, this human experience is being informed every second of our life by this machine called the brain. But what I think happened, and I would love to hear what you think about this catastrophic global event, the pandemic, we actually dropped out of that machinery more and dropped into our conscious self, into the present moment, which is our default state, which is actually who we all are underneath the noise of our thinking. And we kind of, for some of us, I think we learned how to use the equipment better. And when I say equipment, kind of what Jack Pransky points to, and what Sid points to, and what George, all the other elders and this understanding point to, that we do have this inner intelligence within us, really guiding us, really in control, and we don't have control. Well, we think we do, quote unquote. Do you think that shifted too? I mean, because you do work in theater, because despite there's always different layers of drama. Do you think that shifted too, or do you think it's just going to go back to it was eventually?
I think for a lot of people, you couldn't help be rattled by this situation. No one got out of this clean. It doesn't matter how much money you had. Everybody went for a point of, this is the end of the world. This could be the end of the world. And there's something very unifying about that. Being in isolation for as long as we were, there is nowhere to run. If there's something you don't like about yourself,
but you found ways. I found.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Right. I hear from yourself.
But I mean, I guess in some ways I have been confronting me for a while. I've done the work, I give myself a pat on the back for that. I've done my counseling, or I continue to do my counseling, and identify what's going on in myself. So when the pandemic happened, anything that was left of my needing to have control in a bear hug, I had to let go of. And I don't know it, but there must be people that felt the exact same way, that they had to surrender to this situation because there is nothing they could control at that point. So if you looked in the mirror and you didn't like something about yourself, this was the time to do it. There's nowhere to run. You have to stay at home and you have to deal with it. You can rather just ignore it and keep drinking and find some sort of escape. But even then, you can't do that for months on end. I mean, you can, and I'm sure some people did, but after a while, you have to make a change. You have to face yourself. And I like to think a lot of people did that. Seeing that, how we get that data back, I don't know, but I feel like there must be some cognitive shift in people who have, right, this is what life is now telling me. If there was ever a sign to make a change in yourself, this is a pretty big one. This is a pretty huge life event. And the fact that may be happening simultaneously globally around the world, that puts so many people in that category of who are driven to go after that thing that they want to do or get better at what they feel was lacking in themselves. So we'll see. Right. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm watching everybody to know it's ready for that change.
Well, I love that, man. You always have that, the eloquence that there's such eloquence in your words. I mean, this American across the pond talking to you, I do a good job of mincing sometimes, and shredding my words into pieces. It's interesting. I think everyone kind of did, whether they were aware of it or not, a cognitive excavation. And then, like myself, with this understanding there, I see it as there's really nothing to fix, who we are underneath the, and I'm going to use this metaphor. I don't know if I shared it with you when I was on your podcast. It's another brilliant coach, and his name is Michael Neal. He used to live in the UK, and he's a theater actor, brilliant guy. He calls us diamonds covered in shit, layered in lipstick, or lacquered in lipstick. So I think people saw beneath the lacquer and the shit. Some people for the first time when they, because a lot of people are constantly go, go, go. I mean, I knew I was before, even though I live in a small beach town. but despite that, I think we saw the diamond. I think we saw the diamond in each other, not to get all kumbaya and idealistic. I mean, I think nature loves courage, and I'm quoting Terence McKenna. I think, the alchemical gold that, nature does love courage, and courage really is who we all are. Our resilient self, that's our default setting. Yeah. Because without it, none of us would be here. Unfortunately, people did pass, a lot of people did get really sick, and some people pass away from this thing, a lot of people. But even in those moments when those folks did succumb to this virus or complications from this virus, they still were resilient in the end. And then they just went home. They just went back home. I have to believe that. What do you think about, do you think that it also kind of unraveled some of our conditioning, like preconceived notions about how life is supposed to be, especially for the younger generations during this pandemic? Because we know we all come to the table with this conditioning that's molded, and actually it's like a meatball, like it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we get older, we get more cynical, but maybe we don't. I just get more, my nose just gets bigger, but, yeah. And, lose more hair. But, do you think that it kind of unwrapped people's tightly wound conditioning, like how life's supposed to be, who they are, what field they're supposed to go into, how they're supposed to live their life, and their belief systems? I hope for folks that were, kind of, I would say, beating their heads against their own experience and conditioning, they kind of wave the white flag and say, you know what? I'm not going to win this game of thought and thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been kicking my own ass for so long. It's like that, what's that movie, Liar, Liar?
Uh-huh.
Jim Carrey's in the bathroom. He has to tell the truth for a day, and he's a lawyer. He's a divorce attorney.
Yeah.
And he's like kicking his ass, and he's like, beat himself up, and he's hitting his head against the side of the wall of the bathroom, and someone walks in, and he looks at him, and the guy's totally like in horror because Jim Carrey looks like a total madman. He says, "Would you mind? I'm kicking my own ass." It's kind of like, I think people got sick of that. I think some folks got sick of that. Just got tired of it. I hope.
I think an event like this, it's so rare. Obviously, it does happen.
Ongoing.
And it's still it's still ongoing. Absolutely. But we have ideas of what we think we deserve. We think we have ideas about, what our roadmap is, where we're going in life. And when that gets torn up, you're likely to find yourself in a state of grief, because you're mourning the life that you thought you should have had. And what happens so much after grief, you become at times fearless. I think that you could lose someone, something, some part of your life, and in some strange way end up in a better place. And even though that sounds completely contrary, because I've had loss, me and my wife have had great loss, but something unifying about that experience made us better people. It made us more compassionate. It made us go after things in life, because the worst thing could happen, and the worst thing did happen. We lost somebody so special. So if people are having that on a global scale, not just loss of someone, but loss of the life that you wanted, I think the veil is, it's been torn down. It's like, you can only be angry at that for so long, and just give in, because you've still got the rest of your life to lead. And if you're not grabbing it, if you're not grabbing hold of it and trying to find, I don't want to say control, actually, because I don't think that's the point we're trying to make, is it? It's not. It's about letting go of that control
and realizing that you're not in, and you're not in charge. And that the process of grief is such a, at times horrific experience, but also a beautiful experience, an expansive experience. It's an experience that we all, at some point in our life, will experience if we haven't already. And I look at it as that it's an energetic kind of, it's an energetic thing that's moving through us. That just like thought and thinking, which we have no agency over, that we really don't. We're not our thoughts and thinking. It's like energy. It's like, I think last time when I was on your podcast, I talk about, the clouds are the thunderstorm clouds, and the clouds are our thoughts, and we are the sky. I think it's part of that, in many respects. And I think, if grief serves as a catalyst to crack us open to see more of our diamond of who we are, not the lipstick or the shit. I love that metaphor. It's a good one. In that experience of grief, but not just for ourselves, but in the memory of the person we lost, because they don't just disappear. Their energy never goes away. Their physical body might, go away, but I think it makes us really see that we're infinite, and not to get all spiritual and woo woo, but we are infinite. But we just don't pay attention to the infinite enough. And we could have those moments at work. And, we've wrapped up a whole bunch of conditioning around grief and belief systems, whether it comes from our Judeo-Christian or whatever religion you are, upbringing. And we have this notion of what grief is, especially during a global pandemic like this. But then I think we let go of that because we see we're not going to be here forever as a physical being, as a physical human, having this human experience on this plan forever. That when the diamond shines through, when we're experiencing grief, we see gratitude more. We see, what's important more. I know a lot of this is, could be idealistic, but I do think that when we do see that we're not like the sum total of our human experience or what happened in the past or what we're currently going through, if it's not a positive thing, we do see that like we do have this inner courage within us that shines through every day when we are grateful and when we are kind of in that ethic of gratitude but we look at gratitude. Some people look at gratitude as an inner guilt trip but I look at it as, you don't have to get to grieving someone's loss in order to get there, because you see it all day long. We just end up loving the noise a lot more. And so I think that, especially like in your line of work, I mean, I don't know, you've been doing this a long time, it sounds like. Do you think that this global pandemic has brought your team together? I mean, do you think it's kind of, or do you think it's we're all going to forget? I think I mentioned this before. We're all going to forget and we're going to go back to being human again, which we probably will.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's too early to tell, but I just know that I've changed. I can see a change in the people that are around me, and their courage is greater. Their compassion is greater. Those qualities don't just go away. It doesn't matter who you were before the pandemic. It's you're the totality of now, and what you choose to do with that. If you're in my company, if you're in my space, then I'm going to help you be in that totality, and I feel that back, particularly with my coworkers. So I don't know if that's just us or something unique about us or myself, but I can't help but feel that that's going on with other people, that they want to be that. They want to be in this moment. They don't want to be constantly holding this beach ball underwater of horrible memories.
Yeah.
They want to, like I understand now, like very recently, I don't have to hold on to it, there was a purpose for that maybe once, that I felt like I needed to keep these experiences under my control because there was lessons to be learned. But no, I understand that I'm done. I can also just let it go, and that beach will fly out the water and disappear, and I can just enjoy my life. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope so. I hope that people have changed enough that is in them, and even if they lose their way again, that they will be brought back to this experience, this very huge experience that we have had and is still ongoing, and they can take something from those lessons once again. But we will see. Like I said before, I'm watching closely. There's going to be major changes in people, in what they do and how brave they are, I think, and it's going to show. I don't know how yet. I'm gonna have to write a book about it. But
that was my next question. You just stop reading my man, Chase. I was about to ask you when the book's coming out, because you probably have a series. I mean, you could write a book about your work, and especially this experience. That's just beautiful, man.
Thank you. It's on my list. It's on my list. I'm doing a bit of mental health studying at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's courses you can do in the UK that are they're funded by the government. They don't take too long, but I haven't studied for a long time, so I'm doing that. But once I'm done with that, I would like to start writing, and it's something I've been trying to write. Trying to write. I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? Ultimate excuse.
Listen, was it Hemingway that said, if you're a writer, be a writer, right? You're calling yourself just write. It's like,
I know.
We need there's like the Olympics opening ceremony for new writers. No, just be a writer. You're a writer, damn it.
I know. I've had lots of good excuses, but it's good. Now's the time. It's all good. But it's going to be about encounters I've had with strangers, and how that has led me on this journey to where we are right now. Literally, talking with Sam led, if I hadn't had these compassionate people help me in moments when I needed somebody and they didn't know me, if I don't think if that hadn't happened, I don't think my life would have turned out as it has now. It wouldn't have influenced it in the same way.
Who knows? I mean, that's the great mystery of life. I mean, I think that,
who knows?
Right. I mean, and that's I kind of love what you said there, because it all comes down to trusting, trusting that you have this inner intelligence within you, like we all do, that I think this pandemic has kind of either you've starting to pay attention more to the quiet, to the present moment, so you can tap into that inner wisdom, which is right there, which is part of, which is that diamond, or you go the other way. And I'm hoping that people are seeing who they are, the diamond, within them, and that the noise has less of a hold on them, because just like the experience I had today, I mean, it was very innocent. No one's thought, all thoughts is innocent, but we do have agency and choice of what thought we want to pick from the thought buffet, right? So we're like, and when we realize that you don't, having thoughts of eating 10 pieces of chocolate cake, probably not a good idea, diabetes, etc., especially my age, or too much steak, you can have discernment. And that's where, this understanding and this, because for a couple of weeks, I wanted to share Sid with you, because not because just because I thought you would really get a kick out of him, because he's a very ordinary man with a 9th grade education who's changed the face of how we see modern psychology in many respects upside down. And especially since this pandemic, because it's forced us to turn inwards more so than any period in our lifetimes. That when we see we're just one thought away, and see the simplicity in that the past doesn't matter, even though if your past was tough, whatever happened in the past good, bad, or indifferent, that we have this gift of presence that's constantly informing us of where to go next. But we think it's up in our intellectual, conceptual brain that we end up taking the wrong freeway, circling the wagons. I think this pandemic has in many ways allowed people to tap back into that inner wisdom. I'm thinking, I'm hoping, and I'm especially since what has happened, not just despite in this country with all the protests and was it Black Lives Matter and what happened with George Floyd and all that too, because that's all tied in. That's all tied in together. And that's I
was just going to say, there's certainly a shift. I've been occasionally going on to Clubhouse.
Oh yeah,
which is all very new.
You raved to me once. I'm scared of that Clubhouse.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I spoke the other day for the first time I spoke, my voice was so shaky. It was. But I happened to be in a room with some very lovely people that were just like, they were praising me for like, oh, it's your first time, fantastic, yeah. And we were talking about, I think that was mental health and entrepreneurship. Really nice crowd. And then there's another UK crowd that obviously everybody is welcome, but it's at like 8 a.m. UK time, and it's about talking about self-love. And I spoke on that, and again, my voice is shaking in the wind, and I was able to just really, really just let myself be seen, even though it's, all audio, be heard in this regard. And I could hear this. There was the host, gentleman called Patrick, and then there was this lady's voice that suddenly just came out of nowhere, who was just saying, "It's okay, keep going. That's it, keep going." Complete stranger, no idea who it is, and then I did, and I just I said what I felt like I needed to get out of myself that morning. Things like that don't happen all the time.
That's divine. That's a divine.
Oh my gosh! And it's happening. And it's happening often. I wasn't sure about that platform. In the early days, it was very overrun with people who seemed very organized, very polished, and it was a bit scary. I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure this is for me." Now that the hype has kind of settled down a bit, depending on what area of whatever you're talking, I lean towards mental health, but I engage in other things. People are having conversations like this all the time, in safe spaces with complete strangers around the world simultaneously. It's incredible. These types of transformational conversations, they happen in with a psychotherapist. They happen with counselors. They happen with a good friend or family member. People are sharing this stuff, and they don't feel like they have to top the next person. Sometimes it's just very it's something to do with their day. It's something that, a significant moment they had with their dog, but it means something to them. And for that amount of people to be so vulnerable at this staggering rate every day, 8 a.m., that to me is proof of significant change, particularly in mental health.
That's beautiful. And just the fact that you found that safe space, because, you're a well-spoken guy. I mean, you speak, the way you share is beautiful. And it's heard by I'm 6,000 miles away, and all the way in California. So it's impacted me in a positive way. And I'm sure it's been, impactful for that group, but it really, whether it's on Clubhouse or what other outlets there are online, I think it's invaluable. And because I want to share, this understanding of how the mind really works and the inside out understanding, because I think especially now, because there's still so many people suffering, and a lot of it's in despite the health issues, with COVID, a lot of it is the mental health issues. And so I think this understanding would be invaluable to folks that are really caught up in just suffering in their thinking, but what's going to happen next. And how could you blame them for, innocently, buying the drama in the brain, because the brain is just trying to figure it out itself, but it's only as good as what it has on board. And it doesn't, the brain is only as good as the operator behind it. It's kind of like, a pilot on a commercial jet. I mean, and I look at the metaphor of human beings, like we're the airplane flying at, at altitude. All of a sudden we hit some turbulence. Okay. And then there's a pandemic, right? And the pilot, we got to navigate around it, try to not hit the virus, whatever. And this turbulence and this chaos. And, we get through it. The thought turbulence settles and we're on to new thought. When we could do it that way so simply, because, our brain complicates everything, especially mental health. Have you seen that? I mean, in this country, I've been to so many, therapists and I find it, the therapist, is invaluable to a lot of people if they're not trying to fix them or find ways of, because I don't believe in modalities. I don't believe in modalities or techniques, because I think that they were just layering and trying to fix a system that's perfect, but we don't have any agency over, or we're using the controls wrong. We're taking the noise personal, when we should be actually looking at it and thanking it for telling us to zoom out of our overthinking. And I think that once people see that and how the mind works and how thought and thinking work, I think people will see their resilience more. Because, for me, I think with, my mental health challenges with ADHD and OCD in the past, I would forget for a long period of time who I was. Right. I would forget because I was so caught up in my head. I mean, I think back, like, was I in my head for a decade? I was upstairs, like, it was almost comical how ridiculous. Like, we spend so much time in our head that it took a pandemic for a lot of us to open the hatch, and climb down the ladder and be present. Where do you foresee, mental health? Because you're on the front lines in terms of being a mental health advocate and being, because it is your passion. Where do you see mental health in the UK going from here? Post-pandemic, hopefully that'll happen soon.
I think people now, like with their physical health, need to understand that they need to take hold of it. In terms of it's their responsibility. When you need treatment for anything, whether it's physically or mentally, if treatment is needed, you go to that person that can help you with that. But there's so much more we can do in the meantime, and there's also so much we don't have to do, like what we're talking about, which is like the absence of thought and knowing that you are in control of, or not in control, to let the trauma, the thoughts leave you. You don't have to carry it around with you. Treatment is one thing. Treatment happens in the treatment center, in the counseling, but you don't have to carry that session around with you. And I did that. That wasn't my mistake, but it's just what I've been getting. Never a
mistake.
No, not a mistake at all.
It's all innocent. I mean, yeah, of course.
I've learned so much from the experience, but just in the way my mind works, everything is so significant to me that I am a hoarder. I carry every experience I've ever had, practically, particularly mental health, in a backpack.
To the choir, man. I'm a member of the same union.
Right. And I know people feel the same way, but you don't have to carry it with you. And I've only literally the last 2 weeks, I've only just fully put that bag down and just stretched out and gone, wow, I'm free. And I had the opportunity to do that whenever I wanted to. Why was I carrying that? I don't have to carry it. And it takes nothing away from the work I've done but it only just says that I deserve to be in this present moment now.
Because it's life is meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah,
we live our life. We live a life the best we can with what we have, and in that sphere, we're gonna have our lumps. Life's a contact sport in many respects, as Sid Banks would say. It's you're not going to get around having difficult times in your life. Sometimes it's going to happen, but in that space between that, and even when we endure difficult times like this pandemic, we still can see our laughter. We can still see the beauty of life in ourselves and in others. We can still see the blessing of life and really, because, we think that it has to be, our brain looks at it as, it's got to be perfect. There's got to be a palm tree over there and sand over there and water over there for it to be a perfect life. But life is messy. But a lot of the mess is in between our ears. And the brain is the brain. It's a machine. It's a computer. Who we are is a lot bigger than that. And once we see the diamond within us, we'll all get through this pandemic more resilient, more hopeful, right? And I seen it in you just by listening to your episodes, this progression, because you're a mighty powerful mental health advocate. And I think the indirect consequence of that is that your professional life is just going to, grow. And that's a wonderful thing, because you've used this experience. It's like a laboratory, like a laboratory, but in a way where the results at the end of the experiment were so profound and so helpful to not only yourself but others that it's catapulted you into this new, paradigm of, I remember who Chase is. Yeah. I'm a nice guy. I'm fun to be around. I'm pretty smart. I got a great kid. I speak well. I clean up well. And when that starts to happen, everything else, how perfectly imperfect it is, falls into place in its own messy way. And we see more of the diamond. And you'll forget again, like we all do. Like I did today, just innocently driving on the road. We think that like we have this feel good feeling that just comes out of nowhere when we're quiet and we don't know where it comes from. It's like this bizarre feel good feeling that I had the other day, just not doing anything special. I was actually watching the Olympics. It was nothing. It was like the one of the races, the 400 meter. I forgot what it was. And it just got quiet. I was like, God, I just feel peaceful. We point to that more. We fall in love. We create we write our next book, we create our next podcast. I mean, I think that's the alchemical gold, because once we trust our own courage within us, and that's hard when we get entangled up in our thinking about it. I mean, it's so hard, like, because we forget all the time innocently, not to our own, it's not our fault. It's just how mind works sometimes. We have amnesia about who we really are, and then we remember again. And I think that's the yin and yang of our, our thought and thinking, tussle. It's like a never ending arm wrestle, cognitive arm wrestle. But again, I'm going back to this, and you're a wonderful example of this. And we're going to end it on this, because I know you have your rest of your Saturday, or you've got to go to sleep soon. That we can't beat the system. You're never going to win. Thought's just not going to just like disappear. You're not going to win. You're not going to win, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you try to beat the system, you can just kick your own. You can be like Jim Carrey's character in Liar Liar, kicking your own ass.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pandemic or whatever it is going on. I mean,
but there's something so comforting in that, when you really understand that, and I don't know how you understand it. It just,
I don't either.
You go for enough.
I didn't understand it today because I completely forgot when I went into,
Yeah, you keep getting in the ring, but after you just know it's just a never-ending fight. You know, there's something quite comforting in that. There's something very empowering and very makes you have moments of pure fearlessness, because if you that's something that you know is a certain, that you have no control. So to be lost in it, you know, to just to pursue life, knowing that you're never gonna be able to fully control the outcome, is actually quite
liberating, right? It's like,
it is liberating.
There was a game called I'm a little bit older than you, called Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Okay.
I don't know if you had Nintendo, and you could play the game over and over. And this is like, I'm dating myself. We won't even mention the year it came out. But it was like, you know, you could use the cheat code. I don't know if you remember the cheat. There was like this is before, you know, this is before social media. This is early 90s, 1998, 1988. Okay. Anyways, there was a cheat code was a secret cheat code that you could put in, and you would get to the last round where you would play Mike Tyson. You'd be this is like, you know, the Darth Vader, like, you know, you have to kick his ass. But every time I put the cheat code in, Mike Tyson would kick my ass every single time. You know, but then when I just played the game normally, I had some wins, some KOs, you know, uppercuts, whatever. But I think that's a good metaphor for it. Like, you don't need the cheat code to have a lovely life. And, you know, you don't need to have a near-death experience that's the one thing I don't agree with Sid. The feeling, the near-death experience piece is the gratitude of being alive, but also that there's nothing to fear, but you have moments of fearlessness all day long. But the mobile phone and the noise in our head and you know, everything else in between, we get distracted by. So I guess let's end it on this, because your words of wisdom are real pearls and diamonds.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. Do you know in the South they say that? Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. Oh, yeah.
In Kentucky.
Yeah.
Have you been to the States?
I have been, a few times. I've not been to the South, but
bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
It has so many different meanings, dude. I was in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, like 17 years ago, and I learned that, you know, Southerners are very polite, very genteel. It depends on the part of the South. If you're like in like North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, they're very genteel. It's beautiful, but they're always smiling, but you can't really tell if they're angry at you or not until they're really angry at you. And if you say something to them that they find offensive, or they hear about something that happened, someone did something stupid, and someone would say, bless your heart, bless their heart. I mean, it has so many, it's like, okay, it means, you know, how silly that person is. Right. Oh, what a goose they are. Or it can actually mean bless your heart. It's kind of like forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I actually say bless your heart a lot, actually.
I love it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Bless your heart. Where is it? But where is that though? Because are you originally from London? No.
Southeast. That's
where we talked Kent. We talked about this.
Kent area. Yeah. That's where I live now, basically, where I commute. It's
gorgeous. Very blessed, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of tractors and cows. And
cow tipping. No.
Lots of rain.
Lots of rain. It's
a lot of rain. Too much rain.
Let's end it on this note. If you could, I'm trying to think. If you could spend one day really without having to pay attention to that space that I've been sharing with you and you've been sharing with me, the space of quiet, can you share what that is for you, what that experience is for you? Because you're also a creative person. You use the creative part of your brain a lot. I think is it the left side of the brain? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What is that like for you? Like that feel good feeling out of nowhere, like just presence.
What is it like for me? For me, I take things apart in my mind a lot. And what I mean by that is that it probably comes from my dyslexia. So when I look at something, I don't see it as in like I see it through my eyes. I see more things. I look at my computer, I see the circuitry, I see where the battery is, where the memory might be, where my earphone jack is, and all the pixels that are in the screen. I look at a building, I have an idea as to where the structure of it, where the spine will be, running through it, the wires that will run through it, the air that will be flowing in out of the ducts, the sewage that will come out and below. It's, for me, at times, when I'm in that state, when I'm in that, what you might call flow state, and that's like detachment, I think everything is alive for me, and I feel connected to that. That's what it's like. When I feel creative, I am in touch with everything around me. At least it feels that way to me. When I'm not, I'm cut off. I might as well be in a glass box. But that's when I know I'm well. That's when I can feel the music. That's when I can feel the vibe of those around me. That's why when I want to dance, and that's when I shine.
And you can see that in real time on his, I know you're taking a sabbatical, but if, ladies and gentlemen, you go to is it on the Bystanders Podcast? Is it on your private page? I won't give the private page out if you don't want to, but.
Oh, no, it's fine. No, it's a public forum. Mindful Escapist.
The Mindful Escapist. You will see dance moves like you've never seen before. They'll take you back to the old school. I could talk to you for hours and hours. And you and I think when I was on your podcast, we did talk for a long time. We need to do this again, sir, because there's always more to explore.
Definitely.
Because there's always some new insight that I would love to share with you, and I would love to, bounce it off you. And maybe I'll get on Clubhouse. I don't know. It's an app on my phone now. Yeah.
Oh, anytime, Sam. Absolutely.
Thank you,
anytime. Sir. Absolute pleasure. And, we're constantly learning, and I'm constantly meeting people that are learning as well. So it's like there's this beautiful sort of forum that's exploded in the last year or so. It's what I wanted, and I got it.
You got it. You got it. You got a friend in California, in Santa Barbara, and I say that wholeheartedly. We have never met, but I do feel a heartfelt connection, and I feel blessed that I've met you, and I think this is just the beginning of continued conversation. And so I think we're going to end on that, but before we do, can you tell our friends in the audience, in our, in the Netherlands, the ethers, how they can reach you if they're, especially in the UK, if, they would like to, Yeah.
So you can reach me very easily on Instagram if you're on that. So it'll be mindful_escapist. That would be the same for Bystanders Podcast. Bystanders Podcast also has a website, so that's bystanderspodcast.com. I'm also on Twitter under the same name.
You're on Twitter?
I am on
You're
Twitter,
everywhere, man.
I know. And then, Clubhouse, I'm under my own name. So just Chase Marks. If you wanted to follow me in there or just ping me into a room, I may. Yeah,
and I think that'd be helpful. Yeah, for folks that really would, because I think there are a lot of people out there would love that group that you're a member of. That's really helpful.
Yeah, let me just find the name quickly, if I may. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, it's all right.
So, I've got airplane mode on. So that's 8 a.m. GMT. So I'm not sure.
What is is it Greenwich Meridian time? No.
Yes.
I have on my watch, I have this thing has GMT time. I feel very fancy, very posh.
Yes. Greenwich Mean Time, I believe is the actual term, but Meridian time, whatever.
Meridian time. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to find my friend Patrick. Where are you? I can't find him.
Well, they could probably just find you in Clubhouse and then I'm sure there's shows or groups or not.
I know all the
everybody.
Cool people. I know all the cool people in mental health. Of course, I'm like an agent.
You're a secret, exactly. But you are, and listen, the work that you're doing is profound. I feel it, and I'm sure a lot of others do too. So keep up the good work, and don't be a stranger. And I hope one day, you'll stop into the, Instagram, but, and I hope to get out to the UK, in 2020. I would love to meet up and have a cuppa.
Oh, absolutely.
A cup of tea.
A cup of tea or a beer or whatever time of day it is. Yeah, sure. I'd love that. Absolutely love that, man.
Well, thanks, brother. Big hugs to you. And, this will come out in probably, end of August, I'm thinking. So
cool.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little snippet together, a little teaser for people so they can just kind of hear your voice and kind of get an idea. So if that's okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, of course. Absolutely fine. Use the material however you need to. And, I'll be probably back on social media. Well, I'm there. I'm there. Like, I'm
no pressure. No pressure. You got fans.
No, it's cool.
It's like,
no
addiction. That's right. Bless your heart. Right,
bless your heart.
Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and feel good, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. Great to see you.
Good to see you too.